Stu here from Analog X. I hope you're all doing amazing. Today we've got a fantastic video for you just to give you a quick update on Genesis V2 Beta. So what's been going on in the background? So Genesis, what is it? The V2, effectively it's state-of-the-art neural audio processing. I think we just took our biggest leap forward with the introduction of GPU processing. This is the ability for Genesis to move to utilize both CPU-based processing and also using state-of-the-art parallelized processing using your graphics card. And why is this important? This is a huge step forward for, I think, for the audio industry in general and for the average user. Because what does that mean? That means that you can technically utilize if you have a Mac or if you have a PC with a dedicated card, you can use that processing to enable to free up the CPU usage for other things like synthesizers, heavy reverbs, all the other great stuff that you need your CPU for when you are making music on a daily basis. How many times have we got to a point in our productions where we're like, I just need another synth, I just need. And so the GPU element of Genesis is groundbreaking. It brings the first ever mixing ecosystem into the digital realm and into the digital audio workstation. For the first time ever, users are going to be able to load emulation after emulation, high quality, the highest quality neural emulations that I believe are available on the market. We go in the opposite direction of in general of the industry. It's always been about minimal CPU usage. It's always been about trying to get the best sound, the best bang for buck for users, so that they can spread their net as wide as possible. They can incorporate as many users within that business model and therefore increase profits. Analog X that's not the way Analog X works. We have always been at the forefront of pushing the technology, pushing the black box wavenet neural technology in a way that enables us to achieve the deepest possible modeling of analog hardware gear. So why is this important? Well, it's important because I feel, and many users feel, that we have been sold a lie for the 25, 30 years that I've been in the industry, using plugins on a daily basis. That is not to say that digital plugins are not useful. Of course they are. There are many amazing plugins out there that enable and help and support the average user to create amazing pieces of work and art. So that's not up for debate. What we're saying here is the quality of those emulations, i.e. how close they are to the true sound of the hardware, is the subjective part. And people have tried through many means of scientific means and end up falling into traps which revolve around levels of aliasing and all the other kind of scientific tests that are done within the plugin doctor world, which is valid again, and there are uses, and of course the science should always meet with the subjectivity of listening and blind A/B listening and engaging how far technology's come. So I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but it's relevant to what we're saying. Analog X I've always believed, I've always believed the core concept is we're not prepared to trade CPU usage for quality. So we did come up with a middle ground, and we created a standard model tier. And we've also made, as you'll see when we go through the V2 update stuff, we've also now created a standard model tier, which uses less CPU, and also together with the core update that we've managed to achieve within the Genesis plugin, there'll be lots of CPU users out there that will be more than happy with the improvements that they will see through a combination of the core engine upgrade in V2 and also the addition of the standard modeling tier. So we're trying to keep those different users happy whilst having no intention of stopping in terms of aiming for the ultimate model, the ultimate emulation, the ultimate way of working with analog emulations within the box. So that leads us on to Genesis V2 Beta. So the first thing we want to say is that the Genesis Pro Beta is the most advanced version of our flagship engine today. It's built from the ground up to support GPU graphics card acceleration, which I've already touched on, and Genesis Pro unleashes a new level of power, speed, and workflow that simply was not possible before. I mean, at the core lies the updated Analog X engine, which is faster, cleaner, more efficient, allowing you to run more models whether you're using Genesis GPU core or the new Genesis Pro platform CPU and GPU. So every part of the system has been refined, from metering to browsing to calibration, bringing the entire user experience closer to real analog mixing while staying fluid and modern in the way that Genesis is designed. I'll say it before and I'll say it again that this is just the beginning for our mixing ecosystem, and we have lots planned for the future. I'm not going to touch on that today, but rest assured that Analog X are not going anywhere. All the disbelievers, the haters, the people that were couldn't wait to stick the boot in at the early stages of Analog X creation. Hopefully we'll see this update and the GP integration, and a lot of those early worries and concerns hopefully should be well put to bed. So moving on to what else we've got in the Pro V2 Beta. So we've talked about the GPU capability. So we can run high quality Genesis models directly from the GPU processing, freeing up the CPU for instruments, reverbs, production workflow stuff, and really experiencing next level performance. This is the world's first GPU powered analog mixing ecosystem, and all the minimum system requirements that you need to run Genesis are on our website, so feel free to check that out. But we do cover a wide range of both Win and Mac user setups. Predominantly the Mac setup, you will require an M series Mac. For PC, you kind of need to be minimum Windows 10 22H2 installed. We do kind of try and push people towards Win 11 if possible. And it will work pretty much in most of the major DAWs out there. Pro Tools on the AAX, the VST3 and the AU plugins will also work perfectly well within Cubase, Reaper, Ableton Live, Studio One, the list goes on. Bitwig, with users that have tested in Bitwig, where GPU's working perfectly fine. So feel free to, when the public beta becomes available, that'll be available for you to download and try. We've talked about the core engine upgrade, so that's the optimized efficiency and the ability to run more models simultaneously on both the GPU core or a combination of CPU and GPU, if that's what the user decides to do. So we've introduced sweet spot meters as well. These are, as you see on the Genesis view here, around the red drive we've got some LED lights and a little green LED in the middle, and there's two new sweet spot meters. One is above the red drive, and there's another light on the input, so dependent where you are currently working, you can clearly see where you are. And if I just press play here for a second, we can clearly see that we're hitting that perfectly. So if I wind that back, you can see now that we're under the required level that the emulation expects to perform at its best, if you like. And then if we overdrive that louder, you can see that now we're outside of the sweet spot range. So it just gives the user a really good indication of kind of where they need to be in terms of input gain. That also can be pre or post. So I think this is a really good thing, because obviously we can see the input and output levels here. If I switch to pre, this is the level that's coming into Genesis before. So you can see if I change the level on the input knob, the input level on the meter is not changing. That's because we're set to pre. If we set that to post, you can now see that when I turn up or down the input gain, that adjusts on the meter. So that's fantastic in that it gives us options to be able to initially gain stage correctly into Genesis, and we can monitor that pre or post. So that's pre and post input gain in conjunction with the sweet spot meters. We also have a gain reduction meter now, which you just saw working away there, which is a work in progress. But you can see there, if I press play, that we're seeing the compression on the SSL emulation style CLA drums profile there. And you can see as we drive into there, we should get more gain reduction happening. So that's great. For the first time ever, we've actually got gain reduction meter working in Genesis, and that's fantastic for those people that wanted that functionality. We've got the new slot matrix as well, so we've now got this new view, which we're within the team we're calling Kev View. This came from one of our developers, Kevin, and this is fantastic in that it on the old view, if I flick back through this little button here, you can see that we have the slots dropping down from in order from the way that the audio processes through Genesis from profile 1 to profile 4. You can clearly see if I press play on here that we've got the input meter at this side and we've got the output meter at this side, which is not the best way of working if you're using multiple slots and you want to gain stage through Genesis. So my preference is this new meter setup here, which goes from left to right, so profile 1 into profile 2, into profile 3, and finally into profile 4. And so yeah, that's just turn that off for a second. So that's your new metering page, the new metering matrix grid, which is a fantastic addition. We've also got the recalibration of these meters. So on the old version, you would see that the VU meter would be in the red, and the meters would show really low. So we've recalibrated this to 0 dBFS metering, so that what you see is what you get, and it's what you're used to within working in the digital realm. So again, if we just see on here, we can see quite clearly that on the input where, you know, -5 dBFS, and then I could just turn, oops, I'm on the wrong slot here. I could just turn the output down, and just, it's so easy just to level those input and output. So when we're gain staging through Genesis, dead easy to gain stage now, and so that's a fantastic new update. And what else have we got for you guys? I mean, there's so much gone into this release. It is off the scale. So we've we're auto-updating the peak meter readings as well. So I think on the older versions, this would only update if the level surpassed the previous level. This now refreshes and updates, so you always know where you are with your particular levels. On to the next big change that we've made, and it's still a work in progress. We do want to get to an all singing, all dancing, searchable library system for Genesis. But, you know, what we've got is a fantastic addition by one of our beta testers came up with this stuff. So big thanks to High Voltage for his work and input on this. You know, just on that, we are a company that we have close communities. We constantly take on board. We allow our beta testers to be involved in the development, the true development, and help shape how Genesis has become and what it will become in the future. Very, very few companies allow that. Beta testing happens. It's a feedback interface. There's no real connection with the direct developers. You know, we do it. We're old-fashioned. Look, we've got a small development team. We've got a small beta, what we call beta A team, which are industry professionals, have been doing beta testing for years. These guys are coming up with ideas that they've seen over the years where other plugin companies have failed to implement ideas, concepts, visions that other people have. So just a quick note on that, we are completely inclusive, and you speak to any of the people around our team, they will say the exact same thing. These guys listen. And we want the same thing as all our Genesis users. We all want the same Genesis. We want the all singing, all dancing, perfect analog emulation mixing ecosystem. That's the goal. That's where we want to get to, with the highest possible quality of emulation, with the best workflow, and so we're working with not only the beta team but with our wider community, with ideas constantly. People coming up with ideas for the website, for the web player. What if Genesis could do this, can do that? So there's a whole host of improvements that are in the background that we will implement. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the update. So what have we got? We've now got integrated PDC. Okay, it sounds like a small thing, but we're dealing with a brand new technology. We're dealing with black box WaveNet convolution modeling, and there's not many people out there that have managed to, I would say, get to the stage we've got with regards to the development. But so just to let you know that PDC is now working, and plugin delay compensation is built into Genesis and reports correctly to the DAW. And again, that's been tested right across the different DAWs. If you do have any more bespoke DAWs that you're using out there and things aren't quite aligned, do let us know and we will look to get that updated for you. So all in all, Genesis is looking amazing. The workflow is the best it's ever been. Back to the model loading then. So we kind of went off on a tangent, but it's fine. We'll come back to the model loading. And so you can see now that we can clearly load. We have a library browsing system. So we can go into here, we can go back to home, and then this is where all my folders of profiles of emulations live. So let's say I want to go into the Super 15 emulations. I want to load the drum break. That loads straight in. The other thing with the new update version of Genesis, profile loading is significantly faster. Even for the HQ models and the heavier processing models, it's almost instant. So another great thing that's to report. So great, and what happens if I go back into the folder? It keeps me in that same folder. So if I want, I can try, I don't quite like that one, and go in and select another one. So it's all there at the touch of a button. Very, very simple. If I want to go back a level, I can go back to here. If I want to unload the model, I can go to the top and just get rid of that model. And then, yeah, so this is fantastic. This really is great. So the only thing I would say is make sure that in the settings, so for Mac or PC users, you want to be in the user library, in the name of who you are, in your documents folder. So whether it's PC, whether it's Mac, go into your documents folder. In there's a folder called Analog X. Inside Analog X is a folder called Genesis, and inside Genesis is a folder called Profiles. Put your emulations into that folder, and then the next time you fire Genesis up, as if by magic, all your emulations will be visible. And if you move them from folder to folder, Genesis will still find them, provided they are in that root folder. Okay, that's the way that I've got it set up, but of course you can change that root folder as well if you want to store them maybe on another drive or in a different area. But I would say for simplicity, the easiest way to work is to put them in there, and then all your profiles will be available for selection in the browser, which is really cool, really easy to work with. So unless I've forgotten anything, that is a basic update from me, quite in depth, but hopefully for new Genesis users and for people that haven't yet managed to have a look at the version 2 beta. That's hopefully gives you a little bit more information on what we've been up to, what you can expect in the update, and we look forward to bringing more people on board to be able to experience not just the amazing sound of the high quality models within Genesis that actually we think sound closer to the hardware than any other plugin company out there, and we stand by that statement. And a lot of our users, the majority of our users, agree with that statement. So there's so much for people to dive into and to experience with the new Genesis setup. Of course, on here you can flick between CPU mode, GPU mode. You may want to, for example, if you are recording, say, 1 or 2 tracks, maybe you've got a singer and acoustic guitar, in CPU mode, you are going to get true zero latency. So the only latency you're going to incur is the round trip of your sound card. So you could have 32, 64 samples in CPU mode, and you could effectively have zero latency. In the GPU mode, of course, then you're looking at the added latency of the GPU buffer. However, I did a video on for Instagram the other day, and I had a setup of 60 mono inputs, which were all running on GPU at 1 to 8 GPU buffer. On my lowest sound card buffer setting, and the latency was barely phasing. It was probably under 2 milliseconds, so perfectly capable on the GPU setup for being able to track a huge orchestra effectively, almost in real time, which these sorts of things have only been possible on the bigger, more expensive systems that cost tens of thousands of pounds. So that is the power of GPU. That is the power of Genesis. That is what we are bringing to market, and hopefully you can enjoy the version 2 beta as much as we have in designing it, working with all the team, and a big thank you to them as well as we continue to move forward with Genesis. Thanks for watching the video today, guys, and we'll see you soon.